I Become a Good Father of Chapter 1. The realization was a cold winter morning when I first realized the depth of my shortcomings as a father. My daughter, Lily, sat quietly at the breakfast table, eyes downcast, stirring her cereal without eating. I noticed the faint dark circles under her eyes and wondered how I had missed them before. My work had consumed me for years, when in my quest for success, I had neglected the most important part of my life, my family. That evening, I sat in my study, staring at a picture of my wife, of Sarah and Lily from 2 years ago. They were smiling brightly, but that joy felt like a distant memory. I couldn't recall the last time I had made them laugh or spent quality time with them. The guilt was overwhelming. I realized I needed to change, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. I decided to start small. The next day I left work early and picked Lily up from school. She was surprised but cautiously happy. On the way home, I asked about her day, her friends, and her favorite classes. Answers were brief, but I could sense a flicker of hope in her eyes. It was a start. That night, I told Sarah about my decision to be more present. She looked at me skeptically, but didn't argue. I knew I had to prove my commitment through actions, not words. I resolved to rebuild the bond I had lost with my family, one step at a time. Little did I know, the journey ahead would test me in ways I hadn't imagined. But for the first time in years, of Chapter 2, Building Bridges, the next morning, I decided to take a day off work and spend it with Lily. She was hesitant at first, unsure of my sudden interest. I suggested a trip to the park, and to my surprise, she agreed. As we walked along the winding paths, I noticed how much she had grown. Once tiny hands now felt stronger, and her curiosity about the world reminded me of how much I had missed. The park. We played on the swings and fed the ducks by the pond. I listened as she talked about her favorite books and how she wanted to learn to paint. Eyes lit up when she spoke about her dreams. I realized how little I had known about her aspirations. In the evening, I cooked dinner for the family. It was a simple meal, but Sarah's expression of surprise and Lily's smile made it worth every effort. We sat at the table, talking and sharing stories of something we hadn't done in ages. It felt like a step toward healing the cracks that had formed over time. The next few weeks, I made it a point to be present at Lily's school events and soccer games. Each time, her confidence seemed to grow, and so did our bond. Sarah, too, began to warm up to the changes. I could tell she was still cautious. I knew rebuilding trust would take time, but I was determined to keep trying. As days turned into weeks, I began to see glimpses of the family we used to be. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was on the right path.
Chapter 3. The Struggles. Change, however, wasn't easy. Balancing work and family proved to be a challenge, and there were days when I felt like giving up. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, I snapped at Lily over something trivial. Her hurt expression was a painful reminder of how fragile our bond still was. I apologized immediately, but the guilt lingered. Sarah pulled me aside later and reminded me that change takes time. "You're doing better," she said, "but you need to be patient, with yourself and with us." Her words struck a chord, and I resolved to do better. To manage my stress, I started waking up earlier to meditate and exercise. It helped me approach the day with a clearer mind and more patience. I also began setting boundaries at work, making it clear that my family was my priority. It wasn't easy, but the small victories kept me going. One weekend, I decided to tackle a project with Lily, building a treehouse in our backyard. It was something she had always wanted, and I saw it as an opportunity to bond further. The project was challenging, and there were moments of frustration, but working together brought us closer. By the time we finished, the treehouse stood as a symbol of our growing connection. Through the struggles, I learned that being a good father wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, even when it was hard, and being willing to learn and grow. Each challenge became a stepping stone toward becoming the father I wanted to be. Chapter 4. Moments of Joy. As time went on, the changes in our family became more evident. Lily's laughter filled the house again, and Sarah's smiles became more frequent. We started having weekly movie nights, where we'd huddle together on the couch with popcorn and blankets. It was a simple tradition, but it brought us closer. One afternoon, Lily surprised me with a painting she had made of our family. It was colorful and full of life, capturing the joy we had rediscovered. I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and gratitude. "You're the best dad ever," she said, hugging me tightly. Those words were worth more than any professional achievement I had ever attained. Sarah and I also began to reconnect on a deeper level. We started going on evening walks together, talking about our dreams and plans for the future. It felt like we were rediscovering each other, and our marriage grew stronger as a result. The love and partnership we had once shared were slowly returning. One day, Lily invited her friends over to see the treehouse. Hearing them laugh and play filled my heart with joy. Watching her thrive reminded me why I had embarked on this journey in the first place. I was no longer just a spectator in her life. I was an active participant. These moments of joy became the foundation of our new life. They were reminders of how far we had come and the love that bound us together. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged.
Chapter 5. Lessons Learned. Looking back, the journey to becoming a good father was filled with lessons. I learned that presence mattered more than perfection, and that small, consistent efforts could make a big difference. I realized that being vulnerable and admitting my mistakes didn't make me weak. It made me human. I also discovered the importance of communication. Talking openly with Sarah and Lily strengthened our bond and helped us navigate challenges together. I learned to listen, really listen to their thoughts and feelings, and it brought us closer than ever before. Another lesson was the value of time. I had spent years chasing professional success, thinking it would bring happiness, but I had overlooked the most precious moments with my family. Now I prioritize those moments knowing they were irreplaceable. Through this journey, I found a new sense of purpose. Being a good father wasn't about grand gestures or material gifts. It was about love, presence, and effort. It was about being there for my family, through the highs and lows, and showing them how much they meant to me. These lessons weren't just about fatherhood. They were about life. They taught me to value what truly mattered and to cherish the people I loved. And for that, I was forever grateful. Chapter 6. A New Beginning. As the years passed, our family grew closer than ever. Lily thrived in school and pursued her passion for painting, often involving me in her creative projects. Sarah and I continued to strengthen our relationship, finding joy in the little things we once took for granted. The treehouse became a cherished spot for family gatherings and quiet moments. It stood as a reminder of our journey and the love that had brought us together. Every time I looked at it, I felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. One day, Lily asked me to help her with a school project about family. As we worked on it together, she said, "I'm so glad you're my dad." Her words brought tears to my eyes, and I hugged her tightly, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I realized that becoming a good father wasn't the end of the journey. It was just the beginning. It was a continuous process of learning, growing, and loving. And while I knew I wasn't perfect, I also knew that I had come a long way. Our family wasn't just surviving anymore. We were thriving. And as I looked at Sarah and Lily, I knew that this new beginning was the greatest gift I could have ever asked for. Together, we had built a life filled with love, laughter, and connection, a life I was proud to call my own.